I can press the button whenever I want, whenever it feels right. I don't tend to look at the competition that much. Like I really look at, what can we do uniquely well and what are our values and how do we maximally accelerate towards them. Maybe a year or two, these speeds will become, maybe if not the default, like very close to the default. And you look at the cost of Luna, right? It's phenomenal. Technology has a way to become very, very efficient over time. We're very focused on very broad access, and we're optimizing for, the utility that you get out of it directly.
I heard there's an actual physical button now.
Yes, there is. I will show it to you. It's very, very cool.
Tibo, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course, yeah, glad to be here.
Yes, really excited to talk to you. I want to actually start with your time at Google. You were on the DeepMind team, and before ChatGPT, Google had something called LM Chat, and you had tweeted, Google was too nervous to release it. DeepMind was blocked from shipping products that could disrupt Google, and I think about that a lot. What were you thinking at that time while you were working on these products that was, well before ChatGPT really changed the world?
Yeah, it was a very exciting time. So DeepMind was a very creative place. I was mostly focused on, my specialty was infrastructure and products to accelerate research. And so there was obviously a group working on language models and scaling that. And then they had gotten pretty good results. And then it was a natural thing to think about, hey, can you turn that into something that, you can chat to and, can use for various things. And so then naturally, the idea of something like LM Chat sort of emerges. And then it was internal, and then there was sort of this ambition to make it into a publicly available tool.
What year was this?
And it's a year before ChatGPT, roughly.
Okay, yeah.
But we were also building all sorts of other things that I'm not going to talk about, but it was a very creative place. And then just DeepMind was not set up to ship product. OpenAI is a very, very different place in that sense. We just research and product just collaborate super closely together. We ideate together. We co-design a lot of things. We have a big bias to ship, and also a big bias towards making things available for people, which I really love. And this is sort of what drove me here: the mission, the people, the talent density. I mean, there's so many great things about OpenAI, really.
Did you know at the time where you were involved in LM Chat that was something special or would become something special?
It felt very special. The models were, it's sort of the first time, you realize you could get coherent text and, something helpful. Initially, it was more funny than helpful, and then gradually it became more and more helpful.
So you say you think about that often, and I understand that. I think, in a lot of ways, Google got in their own way. What are some of the lessons that you learned there that you took to OpenAI?
Yeah, so this is why I think about it often. I think about it in terms of the culture that I have on the team, the culture of OpenAI itself, and so the good parts to preserve and what not to do. OpenAI has a very bottoms-up culture. It's a very empowering culture. People can come up with all sorts of ideas and get together and then very, very quickly ship something. And there's very little stop energy in general for new product ideas, which is exhilarating and fun. And, it's all about impacting the world in positive ways. And so preserving that is very important to me. The other thing that is also important is to not make it a mess, right? So you don't want to have a hodgepodge of features and no overall direction and coherence. And so it's counterbalanced with the sense of simplicity and you being proud about the quality of the product. I think the ChatGPT iOS app is one of the best apps out there. And so we want to keep that. We're investing a lot in things like delight, performance, efficiency, simplicity. So there's these overall principles while still empowering everyone to try new things and ship very quickly.
If you were to give advice to a founder about how to develop that kind of culture, what are some of the more tangible elements or practices that occur inside OpenAI that can kind of give advice to a founder?
Yes, I think having conviction and finding a way to have users and iterate very quickly from feedback, and then also being willing to disrupt yourself, that is not as much relevant for founder, but is relevant for, companies like OpenAI. Like we come up with new research, new ideas all the time, and being able to identify when is the right moment to go and invest in them, even though it means like maybe reallocating resources from, the main gig.
It's
like
so
super
hard.
important. But it's very hard, but it's super important to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the exact thing that you were describing at Google. They kind of weren't able to do that. That's great. I mean, does that...
They have a plan, to be fair. It's like, it was all part of a big plan. But to me, it wasn't the right place.
At OpenAI or any company, as it matures, does that become more difficult to maintain that kind of culture of shipping and willingness to disrupt yourself, especially when if you have a cash cow just printing money and you have this other new thing over here that might be something cool and innovative?
We are very, very forward-looking, and the future of AI and what it will all look like and how humanity benefits, it doesn't really wait or doesn't really care for, whatever you have established here, over the next month or 3 months. And so, I think it's very important to lean in, and to, just be like open-eyed about where it's all going. And then, figure out like how to position yourself so that, you do catch that wave. Even for OpenAI, it's like we train models and then we discover their capabilities. Like benchmarks don't tell you everything. We have to play quite a bit with the models themselves to sort of like realize, it's like, oh, maybe we haven't thought about, benefiting from it in like this specific way, or like, oh, it can do this. And then you're just like, oh, that means that's a shift in like, how we think about the product.
Yeah.
For example, like right now, like, we launched the new voice, ChatGPT voice, and it's super delightful to talk to. It's very natural. Now it's capable of tool use as well.
Yeah.
And that changes things. Like now I spend a lot more time just talking to it. Another thing I do all the time is like dictation, because the quality of the dictation is like so good, and it's like much more efficient as a way instead of like typing the prompt. And so in the morning, I sit there with my phone and I'm like, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, a couple of things to do for ChatGPT. And then it just goes and like does it. It has access to all my tools.
Yeah.
And that is like, that was not possible before we had like really good voice models. And so that completely changes then suddenly how you think about the product.
Yeah. Let's continue talking about new models, new harnesses. A few weeks ago, I'm going to start with another one of your tweets because, these are bangers. Codex will seem primitive in 2 to 3 months. We're about to go through another major evolution. The next generation of models need more than your laptop. What areas, let's start with the harness first. What areas of the harness are still ripe for innovation as a model gets better?
Yeah, so many. So I talked about voice. Like one thing that right now, if you're like a sophisticated user of Codex and any other coding agent, is you sort of have gotten used to a little bit of the clunkiness, right? So you have to manage skill files, and this is like a way to sort of like teach it stuff, but it's also, I think a lot of people have realized it's kind of like hard to maintain over time. The memory is sort of like a thing, but it doesn't always remember everything. Like if you have subagents, you have to care about subagents, and it's like sort of like constructs a little network, and so the illusion kind of gets broken at various parts when you interact with it. And really, what you want is just something that deeply understands you, understands your goals, understands your day-to-day, understands what your team is up to as well. And then optimally sort of like reacts and also is proactive, and just helps you in your day-to-day, and doesn't break that illusion, right? Of like that's this perfect little partner that you have. And so that's what we're working towards. Another thing that you realize when you have very, very powerful models is that your laptop kind of becomes a constraint in and by itself. The amount of work that you can do on a laptop, it was designed for humans, right? So it's designed roughly to be able to absorb the amount of work that you can produce, or how fast you can type and how fast you can think, how many applications you need open. All these things are human constraints. The model doesn't have the same constraints. The model can, for example, handle 100 applications opened at the same time perfectly fine, maybe in the future. And so in terms of access to resources, it's very clear that models of the future will need access to more than the resource of your laptop.
I'm guessing you're talking about cloud agents, and all of a sudden, like, when you have things like ultra-fast, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, when you have token speeds that are 10, I think 14 is the stated number, 14 times faster than what fast is, the bandwidth changes, or sorry, the bandwidth constraint changes. The CPU now becomes the bandwidth, like literally tool calls.
Network, tool calls,
Yeah.
any kind of overhead in the stack becomes the limiting factor. But then, you can compensate by doing multiple things concurrently as well. And so you can think about, having like maybe, exploring on one end, writing tests as well, compiling, testing a new hypothesis like all at once. And so then you're shifting the bottleneck around because, you're able to do more concurrently, and then the model can think very efficiently and very quickly through it.
With current token speeds, I find myself kicking off 10, 15 agents in parallel.
Right.
And that becomes a pretty significant cognitive overhead for me to do that context switching and just constantly, because you're kicking it off and you can expect 30, 45 minutes before my task comes back. Now with ultra fast speed, that workflow changes significantly. And I don't think I would be able to have 10 or 15 agents. And that might be a good thing. Maybe it's 3 or 4 at a time. How do you see the workflow of a solo developer changing over time?
Yeah. So I think managing your attention and being much more, friendly to your attention is something that we care a lot about. Like, after all, we're trying to build for humans. We're trying to be build the technology that's the most empowering for humans. And that requires building around, your ability to multitask and, how do you want to manage your attention, and do you want something brought up now, or is it better to bring it up in 30 minutes? And then when you have ultra fast speeds combined, maybe with voice, is suddenly you're okay, this thing can operate at the same speed, if not faster than you. And so you stay in the flow, you get to ideate, you get to see prototypes, you get to build little reports in real time. And that, that just feels really good. Suddenly you're oh yeah, it's what I was doing before, multitasking 10 agents. It's I don't want to really go back to that.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to bring that sort of experience that is just really natural, but also feels built for you. Where you don't have to adapt, the technology adapts to you.
So there's been a number of, I guess, agentic coding techniques discussed over the last few months. Loops was popular, still is popular. Now I'm hearing about graphs. Are these all techniques to just allow the solo developer to manage or be friendly to their attention? As you said, I like that term.
Yeah. So I think about 2 different categories of problems. The first one is building the very best personal AGI, or the personal agent that will be in the flow with you, proactive, raise important new ideas when it can find some, be very, very efficient at doing exactly what you want. It doesn't matter whether it's a technical problem or, it's just more research or advice, you can do it all. And it's super, super tailored to you. This is a very important thing. And it's deeply rooted in the understanding of you as a human, you as an individual that is unique. That's one category of problem. We're pushing super hard on that. The other category of problems full on automation, where you're more building intelligent systems that can take care of a very complex process, maybe something that does require intelligence and seems very complex. For example, going and looking at production logs and automatically doing performance optimizations. We're looking at regressions and automatically patching them. In cybersecurity, we're seeing this as well, where it's you have something, you have a scanner that comes up with a vulnerability, can you automatically patch it and reduce the window where you have that open vulnerability to almost zero?
And that's all
of that
without a human in those loops.
Without a human in the loop, or very, very minimal, where you only need to approve a high risk action, and it's mostly an automated system. But it's also not that much, it's not as important for you to be in direct control of it.
Okay. And then, so I want to slightly change topics. And, ChatGPT and Codex have been on this merge path over the last few months. So I guess first, I just wanted to ask you, how's that been going? How does it feel internally? What's the feedback you've been getting from your customers?
Um, it's really been a boon. So the feedback we had initially was like, why do you merge them? It's like, do you really have to do it? And it's like, well, our future models want us to be merged. So, we're just gonna do it because it is the simple and proper thing to do. Where we are building this very personal, super capable agent that can help you in all sorts of ways. This is going to be the same technology under the hood. It's the same harness. It's the same way that we think about it. It's like highly multimodal, voice first, super efficient. And it doesn't matter if you're trying to code or not. Like this agent is capable of it all. And it's like the most efficient at it. And then the interface that you want is like, it should tailor itself to your needs. You shouldn't decide like, I'm a coder, I want a coder interface, or like I'm not technical, I want a non-technical interface. It's like there's a spectrum of people. Like, we come up with labels of like a software engineer, a designer, like, these are just human concepts that we have invented to deal with abstractions because the reality is too complex for us to handle. But if individuals are like, they're individual, they have their own, they're somewhere on the spectrum. And so we're trying to build the perfect interface that adapts for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're technical or not. It's just like it adapts like based on your specific individuality. So that's why we went and we did this.
But does that mean inevitably it's going to end up with a singular interface, no drop down selecting between products? And it's kind of wild to think that my mom might use the same exact interface as me, and then obviously it'll customize to my needs. Maybe I'll need more information if I'm doing more sophisticated work. But like, what is the end state for you?
That's right. It's the same thing. So you and your mom will, use the same thing. It will be your personal AGI. You will have very different kinds of tasks and utility that you get from it. You will connect it to different tools in your life. You will bring different ideas, different needs, and then it will continue to tailor itself to maximally benefit you.
Okay.
And it will, do so with your friends and with everyone else.
So I want to go back to something you said. You used the word illusion a couple times. In that kind of end state, what is that perfect illusion for the typical user? Like what like if you can envision us a few years from now, what does the interaction between AI and a human look like?
Yeah, it's to me, it's something that is very, very tailored to humans. And this is why large language models are also a success. It's like it's natural language. Natural language, it's like it's a human concept, right? So, we're used to speaking to each other. Like, if you write me a letter tomorrow, I'll be able to read it. It's like we know each other quite a bit now. So, it's like I will be able to sort of decipher like a little bit of the emotion or, maybe a little bit of the nuance behind the letter if you wrote me a letter. And all of that is deeply human. So the technology that we're building is, rooted in humanity and rooted in, the way that humans communicate and get things done. And there shouldn't really be a thing where, you're like, oh, you misunderstood me because, you didn't quite decipher the nuance in, my tone, or you didn't quite understand the text, how I meant it. It's like, that's something that we're trying to avoid. And so we're trying to very much to not have you adapt, but have the technology just like be perfectly sort of created to be like a natural extension of how humans already act in the world.
When I think about communication between humans, so much of it is nonverbal, just the way I move my hands, the facial movements, and like how much of that do you see in the future being sensed by artificial intelligence or read by artificial intelligence, maybe through vision? Is that even important? Because what you're describing now is text only. And for those of us who grew up online, we're very used to communicating over text and, adding subtleties to that text to convey what we really mean, tone. But like, is it still important to have AI be able to read our facial expressions, our hand gestures, and so on?
I think so. So when I think about the future of what we're building, it's very ambient, it's very natural. If
tomorrow or like, later I go to my office and I write something on the whiteboard and I have an idea. It's like it should be capable of, being there as well and like, understanding, or, maybe I tell it like, hey, it's just like, what about this thing? And, and then we just have a natural conversation just over voice. Yeah. Like since we shipped the new ChatGPT voice, like it's really taken off. So it's like the amount of users that interact with ChatGPT just through voice is growing very fast right now. And this is I think the lesson is like every time you sort of like lean into something that is more natural, like humans just choose the path of least resistance. As you said, it's like typing on a little box, like, it's just like, it's natural maybe for some of us, but not for everyone. And it's like, definitely when you get something that is just like a little bit easier, a little bit better, it's like, you tend to just go and use that and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, congratulations. I saw that you posted this morning, Codex reached 20 million users. I've seen the graph and for a while it was like this, and then all of a sudden it's vertical. So congratulations. I want to talk a little bit about that competition with Anthropic, because of course, a lot of people think OpenAI, Anthropic, these are the two major competitors in the industry right now. There was a period of time in which Anthropic was kind of sucking all the oxygen out of the room, right? They were really dominating. And then all of a sudden, something changed. So first of all, what's your read on the market today?
Yeah, really right now, we're focused on building the most capable models, building models that are highly, highly efficient, and then taking a lot of pride in building products for everyone. This is something that I think OpenAI does really well, is caring about the world and caring about how we are taking this very, very powerful technology and like putting it in the hands of as many people as possible. And this is what we did as well, like with merging Codex and ChatGPT. It was like this desire of like, we have this technology, we can make it safer, we can make it easier to use for everyone, whether you're like a product manager, a designer, in sales, marketing, comms, all of that. It's like, you should be able to use all of it. And then just very, very quickly, distribute it through ChatGPT, like where we have a ton of users already. And so that's been really driving, this growth as well that you mentioned. And I don't tend to look at the competition that much. Like I really look at, what can we do uniquely well and what are our values and like, how do we maximally accelerate towards that?
Okay. I want to maybe just dig a tiny bit more into that, because I know you're not thinking about Anthropic all that much, but a lot of other people do. And they're thinking about, okay, which product do I believe in? Which product do I want to give my $2,200 to? When you look at the market position and the branding and the tone from OpenAI and just the way that it interacts with developers, with the broader audience, how do you see that comparing to the way that Anthropic does?
Yeah, I think maybe again, like what I care a lot about is like the community building for the world, like bringing everyone along. I think, you can feel that in the way that we are super transparent about things. Like we take a lot of ideas from the community. It's just like, it's also so much fun, to be honest, because we get so much energy from it as well. Yeah. And then this technology that we're building, we're not building it just for ourselves. Like we're not just building it to accelerate just OpenAI. It's like, it's super important. The mission is super important. And therefore, it's like, this is where we also get our energy from. And so it just feels, to me, it feels like very grounded. It feels fun. And then good things happen as a result of that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of those good things. I want to talk about the resets for a second, Tibo. That's kind of like, I know, it's like what everybody is, kind of following your every tweet because of this. Specifically, like, again, looking at that growth curve of Codex, maybe this is a silly question. How much do those resets, how much of it is a boon towards marketing and growth? Or is it just like goodwill for the developer community?
I think maybe it's counterintuitive, but OpenAI is it's a place where you can just do things. And so it just felt right initially to compensate when we were iterating and breaking things, or maybe we had misconfigured something and it wasn't quite as good as we want it. And so it's like, hey, thank you for trying this product. Like we know, like we're trying very hard to build it. It's like it's early days. Here's some extra usage because, we happen to break it, for like 30 minutes. And, we understand this is like really important and you rely on it. And, thank you for being a user. And so this is how it started. This is how I still treat it. It's like, if we break it, or if the experience is suboptimal and we don't fully understand why, and it's like, we will compensate for that. We will reset the usage limits. And then, it turned into like quite the thing. Obviously, there's a whole reset button now, but there isn't really a lot of scrutiny behind it. It's like it's not done in partnership with like marketing or finance. It's just like I can press the button whenever I want, whenever it feels right. And we have these principles that we're trying to build something amazing, and when it is not, it's like we will make up for it.
Yeah, I still think there's a piece of it that really has built so much goodwill in the community and maybe has contributed to the growth, at least in a small part.
I think caring for your users,
it's all the culture,
does a lot, right? So I think you can pay lip service and say that you care, or you can be like, we actually care, and like if we break it, like hey, really sorry about it. It's like here's like how we make up for it.
It kind of reminds me of Amazon's return policy. It's like if you're not happy in any sense, go ahead and send it back. And you're kind of building that same culture or that same perception of OpenAI. It's like, hey, if we make a mistake, go ahead, use those tokens again, or here's a fresh batch of tokens for you. I really appreciate it. So,
and then there's also good moments where we would just want to celebrate and mark the moment, and it's just like there isn't really something that we can give that is more meaningful. At times, like we always ship new features, we will ship them as broadly as we can, but something to share with the entire community. It's like hey, go explore this new thing. Like it's just like you haven't used Ultra yet. Here's some extra usage. Like try it.
And I heard there's an actual physical button now.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
You'll have to show me that after.
I will show it to you. It's like very, very cool.
But with all of these resets, like you can really only do that if you've done significant compute capacity planning. Like you have to have enough compute to give all of these resets. And I want to start to talk a little bit about self-improvement because like speaking of capacity, I think it was a few weeks ago, there was this article you put out, and it stated Sol had optimized Luna efficiency. You dropped the price of Luna by 80%. There was also a price drop for Terra as well. How much of an efficiency gain were you able to eke out of Luna versus how much of it is like we just did really great compute capacity planning and we can just drop the price? Like our margins are great and we want people to use it. So like how much of it were algorithmic gains versus strategic planning?
We planned compute like way ahead. I think if you look back 2 years, I think OpenAI was kind of questioned for why, there was like so much investment in compute.
One of those crazy good bets.
Yes. And then now we're very happy to have it. Like a very large fraction of the compute is used for research, where we invest in our future and, ever better models. And then also like the efficiency of the models that we have. And then the amazing thing that's happening is like when we push the frontier of capability for like the most advanced models that we have, then we can use these models in order to figure out very, very quickly how to serve or how to restructure or re-engineer our stack in order to gain very significant efficiency or performance gains. So we haven't just improved, this is something that we will publish on as well, we haven't just improved the cost efficiency, but we have also improved the speed efficiency. Outside of ultra-fast, things have gotten significantly faster over time.
They have.
Like if you plot it, it's like, the amount of speed that you get now is like, roughly 60% faster than what it used to be like 3 months ago. And this is just like we're just going after every part of the stack and just really making sure that we design it and engineering it optimally for the kind of workloads that we have. And so and the most powerful models that we have are the ones like just really that make it capable for us to do it with a very small team. And so the majority of like whenever we come up with like very significant efficiency gains and cost efficiency, like our commitment is to just really to keep things at the frontier of performance cost, and to just also like, just not just pocket, that efficiency gain, and just make it something that we share with our customers, we share with our users, and that's what we did with Luna.
How do you, what do the discussions look like internally where you're trying to decide compute allocation towards researching new models, efficiency gains on existing models, inference? Like, what does that tension look like internally?
We usually look at things from first principles, and we have like an allocation for research, we have an allocation for product, and then within product we make different kinds of trade-offs. But this one was almost not even a trade-off, because the efficiency gains were there. So we were pretty much like able to use like the same compute envelope in order to serve this like a very significant increase in throughput.
Yeah. So when I saw the blog post a few months ago, prior to the price drop blog post, where you guys were talking about one model training the next model, or helping kind of optimize the next model, then you see these efficiency gains that were achieved by Sol looking at how Luna was running. It seems to me like recursive self-improvement in the very early innings. What are your thoughts there? Is that what is happening?
Yeah, I think recursive self-improvement is it's obviously a huge topic right now, and it's most often I think applied to research, and models developing other models. But what we are seeing a ton of success with is using those models to develop the infrastructure that is on the critical path of using those models, which is also a form of recursive self-improvement.
Yeah, totally.
So
it's all one big system.
Inference stack, the hardware, like the kernels, CUDA kernels that we use, developing new products and new ways to interact with those models that are more efficient. You talked about cloud agents. It's like if we really crack cloud agents, it's like suddenly you become much more productive as well. It's like, is that a form of like recursive self-improvement? Because then you have a better ability to get the utility from them also. I think it is in some sense, but it's much more, infrastructure, and then, being able to then take that and then point it back at itself.
Yeah.
And so, of course, like we're doing that. It's like if we were not doing that, I think that would be pretty silly.
Can you talk a little bit about, so as we're on the topic of recursive self-improvement, OpenAI, Sam Altman talked about pausing the absolute frontier of RL right now, I believe. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what was that decision like? And I know we talked about the Hugging Face incident briefly, but like, what went into that decision? What does that look like? How did those discussions go?
Yeah, this is something very much within research, where there is OpenAI has always been able to invest its resources where it matters most, and as we increase the capabilities of our models, it is very obvious that the alignment and the safety aspect of it is ever more important. And so having tremendous amount of investment there is a very natural thing for OpenAI, and like something that OpenAI is very committed to. And so we're seeing a huge surge in investment on this, and also the pause was sort of like necessary to allow like the teams and individuals like just really understand and harden all parts of the system to then ensure that we could restart training with like full command. And this is something that I believe OpenAI will always continue to do, like when necessary. I've not seen us internally not able to make such decisions like very efficiently.
Was there like some set goal in place where it was very clear you needed to reach this point before unpausing, or was it, hey, we'll know it when we see it?
Yeah, this is something that sits within the safety team, and they very much, this is like very much a debate and sort of like a discovery process as you go. But then they did reach a fairly clear set of principles that, when reached, like, we would be in a good position.
I want to go back to ultra fast mode. that I think people don't appreciate what that kind of speed unlocks. And so let's start with, what use cases are you doing, are you using internally that were not possible prior to having those kind of tokens per second?
We see it used a lot when the stakes are high. So for example, when we have an outage, um, the incident commander and the response team gets access to ultrafast, because
Oh,
like
interesting.
every second is, matters. So high stake scenarios like just really weren't, using ultrafast. Also, it's kind of like a fun thing where teams which are like either working on something very critical or believe they are working on something very critical will always request ultrafast as well.
Does pets
And
fall under that?
pets.
Yeah, pets.
Pets is not quite hypercritical,
All right.
but I love my pet. It's always on my screen. Like when you walk around, you see like people's pets on their screen, and like also when they dial into the video call, it's just like it always like I think it's very delightful, and it brings me joy every time I see it. But pet is not quite critical right now. We do maintain it, and we take good care of our pets. But say someone is working on like a new idea they have, and they're like, hey, it's just like, I really think this could be like something special, and we have to try it, but like we have to make a decision on Monday on like whether we include this in dev day or not. And it's like, okay, just like of course use ultrafast. People have different kinds of preferences on whether they like to be mono-threaded, as we talked about, or multitask a lot. For folks who like to multitask a lot, you don't benefit as much from ultrafast.
Right.
But some people just like don't like to change context all the time.
Where do you
And
fall on that spectrum?
I have ADHD, so I context switch like all the time.
It's funny because I also have ADHD, and I actually don't want to context switch all the time. That's
Okay.
really hard for me. I want to focus on 2 to 3, and that's why I was so excited about ultrafast. That's fascinating that you're the opposite there.
I thrive in context switching and
Okay.
making lots of little decisions. But sometimes I do want to just stay focused on like one thing, and then ultrafast is just delightful because it just keeps you just right there in the flow.
Yeah.
The thing with ultrafast that it works amazingly well when there's not that many tool calls involved, or it's like a lot of generation of context. So, for example, if you're trying to prototype a website or a video game, and you just need to write like a lot of code, then it will do it so quickly, right? 10 times more quickly. But if it's a lot of tool calls, like the overhead is in like somewhere else in the network, or somewhere else in the agent trajectory, then you'll only feel like a 3x or 4x speed up.
Yeah.
And you'll not get that for like full 14x.
So I know OpenAI employees get unlimited tokens, and I can imagine if I had unlimited tokens, I would always set it to max thinking 5.6 Solar, whatever the latest model is. And I would think kind of similarly, I would always want ultrafast on. It's like when cost isn't on my mind, I'm like, okay, max it out. Is that how it is internally?
We don't give ultrafast to everyone. Like we reserve a lot of our capacity for external users and customers.
Yeah.
So OpenAI employees have the ability and the capacity to gobble up all of it, right? So gobble up like all of our production GPUs, all of ultrafast is like, we would use all of it, but we don't. So like we sort of we restrict it in a way where like we look at how much is reasonable for us, so that we use it so that we understand the product as well, so that we keep improving it, so that we benefit from recursive self-improvement. But the vast majority is like reserved for customers.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Thanks. What latency sensitive use cases outside of OpenAI are you most excited about that gets unlocked by that kind of speed?
It's interesting. It's just like really one thing that I'm very excited about in general is non-text interactions. So can you like sort of operate on a shared canvas? Can you create things? Can you generate ideas and different can you generate different images and then select one and like so like choose your adventure, and then have a very quick mock-up of a prototype that then you can steer like in real time, either through voice or through text, and then you sort of like just see it right there. It's like this very creative process, which I think these speeds allow, where like as an engineer, sometimes you're just like sort of like you sit back and you're like, oh, I need to design this whole system, I need to think about it, the trade-offs, the requirements, but like maybe you can just create it in 1 minute and see like how it actually does. And then sort of like be more like in the flow and like intuit things better, and I think these speeds allow that.
Yeah. And so I'm assuming the ultra-fast price is going to be significantly higher than kind of normal speeds. Do you think ultra-fast speeds are going to become the standard, or are they always going to have a premium price point?
That's interesting. So I think the same way as technology usually goes, I think it will become like more broadly and broader and broader accessibility over time. The speeds at which like agents get things done, like will continue to improve. Like we're seeing massive improvements like month after month. This is not just the inference speed. This is also just how token efficient the models are. Like Sol is like significantly more token efficient than Terra. Next model will be significantly more efficient, token efficient than Sol, as you might expect. And we always pushing on that. And so things just get faster over time. Inference, hardware, like everything, just like we continue to innovate there, and it gets faster. So I do think in maybe a year or two, these speeds will become maybe if not the default, like very close to the default. But then I do also think you will always have like the one tier up, where you can always use more hardware, you can always do different trade-offs that are like more costly, but that just kind of give you something extra.
So Tibo, the last question I usually like to end on is for a broader audience. There are a lot of people out there who are quite nervous about AI, whether it's job automation, environmental impact, or just kind of this thing that's happening, and it feels quite foreign. What words of encouragement would you give to the broader audience?
Yeah, so we really built for the world with ChatGPT, and we are very, very much investing in how efficient it is, and this is directly aligned with like broad access and broad utility that we provide. So the cheaper it is to serve, like the more you can do with it, the more you get out of it in your daily life. And it has gotten very, very efficient. Like if you look at Luna, for example, like it's a much smaller model. It is incredibly efficient. But like if you rewind six months ago, it would have sat at the frontier.
Yeah.
And you look at the cost of Luna, right? It's like it's like it's
crazy cheap.
It's phenomenal, right? It's like kind of
You
like
just did that thing with
incredible.
Repli. You're giving it away for free now.
It's just like on in this free mode,
Yeah.
right? Which is like wow, it's like this access to incredible intelligence will become like ubiquitous, and it's only possible when you push the efficiency like like month after month after month, year after year. And so I think whatever was like is the frontier now is like will become like way cheaper to run in 6 months. And so this is like my sort of this is how I would answer this question, is just technology has a way to become like very, very efficient over time, and we're very focused on like very broad access, and we're optimizing for the utility that you get out of it directly.
How about for people who are apprehensive to even try AI for the first time? Like what are you telling them, and how can you paint a picture, a vision of the future in which AI is helping the world?
Yes. I think you don't have to look very far. Like ChatGPT helps people in very personal and deep ways. Like a lot of our users use it for help in writing, but also like for personal advice or medical advice. Like we launched health and finance, and I use them super regularly, and I feel like I get like a lot of support that I otherwise like, it would be hard for me to get. And it allows me, for example, to be more informed when I go see my doctor. And so you don't need to go very far, to kind of see the utility that it can provide. Just I think, talking to others and then, getting inspired by, how others like, use it and benefit from it is like a great way to, so maybe like start considering how you could benefit from it.
Well, Tibo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.